be expensive for GFP fixing their tunnels.
Well,
I told them the miners are up there are probably contract miners and that
that's
they're
TMI, Tyson.
TMI.
Yeah, Tyson, and then Tyson's a big company. Now we have Tyson 1 and Tyson 2.0, and they hate each other. They're fighting all the time, but they're under the same. That's big business.
Good evening. It is 6:30 p.m. on Monday, April 1st, 2024, and I would like to call to order this regular meeting of the Sturgis Common Council. Our first action item would be approval of the agenda. There was a request from staff to move items 11.7 and 11.8 until after executive session. So if there is a motion on the agenda.
I would move to approve the agenda with said changes.
Okay, first by Dean to approve the agenda, moving 11.7 and 11.8 until after exec.
I'll second it.
Second by Tony. Any discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor of approving the agenda indicate by stating yes.
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 Yes. And those opposed with a no? Okay, we have an agenda. If we could all stand and remove cover for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and next on the agenda would be announcements and praise. So I would like to take a minute just to praise our Heavenly Father. All those who want to join, please do so. Lord, we praise you because you are faithful and merciful. We thank you for your grace, which allows us to praise you and to joyfully serve others. We ask you to continue to pour out your grace on us so that we may live lives full of faith, hope, and charity. We ask you to bless each and every one of us and give us hearts that strive each day to imitate the saints and to become saints ourselves. Help us to continue to surrender ourselves to you so that we can be signs of your resurrection in the world. Come, Holy Spirit. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, and next on the agenda, item 5 is for non-agenda matters that may come before the council. In this section, we invite the public to come forward with any non-agenda matters they would like to bring before council. No action will be taken this evening on anything brought forward here. Oh, I'm sorry.
Nope, you're fine.
We're still on. I'm so sorry. Let's scooch back to number 4 if I could. I do have some announcements too, and I'm sure there are other people that do. So back on announcements, I know that there will be the municipal election. Sorry, how could I have forgotten that announcement? The municipal election will be Tuesday, April 9th, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. It'll be at the Sturgis Community Center. Absentee voting is available. It has been open, and it's available at the finance office during regular business hours, so that would be from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., except the day before the day before the election, the absentee balloting will close at 5 p.m. So I have that, and then I did also have an announcement and wanted to congratulate one of our local businesses, Pain and Movement Solutions. And so they received the SBA South Dakota 2024 National Small Business Week Award. And I believe they received that award for Women-Owned Small Business of the Year. So congratulations to Julie and Pain and Movement Solutions. Okay, and that is all I have, sorry, for announcements and praise. Is there anyone else from council that has any announcements or praise?
Yes, Madam Mayor, on 4.1 with the election coming up, I don't know if maybe staff has already started, but is there any possible way on our social media platforms and the internet or our website that we could have sample ballots placed on there and the AMA race ballot and also the city manager, and maybe a little bit of an explanation on yes means no and no means yes, or however that's worded, if we could, please, because I've had some questions on that, so.
And it-
I plan to put that up tomorrow.
Okay.
Send out a
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Anyone else from council?
How about
Sorry,
a
go
quick question?
Yes.
Absentee voting, are we gonna have is the finance office gonna be open on Friday?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It'll be their normal hours, so it'll be
Normal
Monday through
business hours.
Thursday. Correct, Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then on Monday, they'll close at 5 p.m. Okay. Anything from the public, announcements or praise? Oh, come on up, sir. Yes, absolutely. If you could just state your name and who you're with.
Hi, my name is Richie Morris from Daytona Beach, Florida, AMA Pro Racing. And I've been here about a week, and there seems to be a lot of confusion in town concerning the race. So all of us at AMA Pro Racing, actually the CEO is going to come up tomorrow, and we decided to have an open forum Thursday night just to answer any questions that you guys have, good or bad. And we want the chance to explain all the good things that this race is bringing to the community of Sturgis. So we invite everyone to come out. Feel free to ask what you want. And it's 5 o'clock at the County Commission building just down the street in the County Commission room.
Okay.
And please come out, and if you're viewing on Facebook tonight, you're invited as well. We would love to answer all the questions. That way everyone is as informed as you possibly can be before you vote. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, just to clarify, you said that was this Thursday in the county building, and Thursday at 6 p.m.?
5.
5 p.m.
Thursday at 5 p.m.
Okay. Awesome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Hey, Madam Mayor, when's the chamber? Is the chamber that banquet that night too? Yes. What time's that at? 6? Okay.
Oh. Okay. Chamber banquet. Okay. So a little bit of conflict there. Mr. Morris, how long did you say you'd be at the Erskine building?
Yeah, we were made aware of the chamber. We just joined, by the way. So we'll be going over there as well. But we're going to have it an hour before. We felt like Wednesday night would be a church night, and then Friday wouldn't be a great night to have it. I think the CEO will be here until Saturday morning. So we have that room reserved for Thursday night. We were going to have it longer, I guess, but I don't know how you would open it before 5.
Sure.
So we're open for suggestions. We don't want to cause confusion. I guess it could be talked about at the chamber. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, I certainly can't speak for the chamber,
Yeah.
but we'll keep this in mind. Maybe
Maybe we could
Something.
do that, and then we'll go over to the chamber as
Oh.
well. I think we have a table over there, so
okay.
we'll do the best we can the time we have.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the public? Any announcements or praise? Okay. All right. Now moving on to the non-agenda items. Number 5. Okay, so in this section, we would invite the public to come forward with any non-agenda matters that they'd like to bring before council. And again, no action will be taken this evening on anything brought forward here. It'll be more for informational purposes or for possible future action. If anyone from the public has anything, please come forward to the microphone, state your name and whether or not you are a resident of Sturgis or who you represent. Anyone from the public? Non-agenda items? Okay. Anyone from council have anything that's not on the agenda? Okay. Awesome. Moving on then to item number 6, and this would be the leadership election. We announced at the last meeting that we have a vacancy in the office of the council vice president, and that we would be filling that vacancy this evening. So it'll be pretty short term, about a month, for whomever we elect this evening. So council can make nominations, and if there's more than one nomination, we will go ahead and vote via paper ballot and turn them into the finance officer.
Madam President, I
Yes.
nominate Councilor Forrester.
Okay, we have one nomination for Councillor Forrester,
I'd second that.
second by Councillor Dargett. Any other nominations?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Sigmund.
That is a nomination for Councillor Sigmund. Is there a second for that?
I'll second that.
And we got a second for Councillor Sigmund by Councillor Bashan. Any other nominations? Okay. And so, Mr. Marshall, correct me if I'm doing this wrong, but we have the 2 nominations on the floor. Can we just go ahead and vote for these now?
You may want to entertain a motion, Madam Mayor, that nominations cease, and then go forward with the election process.
Okay, thank you. All right. Would there be a motion that the nominations cease? So moved. Okay, first by Becca,
Second?
second by Aaron. All those in favor of ceasing the nominations, please indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Yes. Those opposed with a no? Okay, we will move forward with the election, and our 2 nominees are Councillor Forrester and Councillor Sigmund. Thank you. So I believe Adam is going to tally those.
The first is for Dean Sigmund. The second is for Forrester. The third is for Forrester. The fourth is for Dean Sigmund. The fifth is for Forrester. The sixth is for Sigmund. And the last one is for Dean.
Okay, thank you, Adam. So the 4
4-3.
votes for Counselor Dean Sigmund and 3 votes for Counselor Forrester. So am I correct in stating that Counselor Sigmund is the new Vice President of Council?
Interesting question, Madam Mayor. Council action requires a majority of the council, and a majority of the council would require 5 votes.
So where do we go from here?
You reballot.
Okay. All right. Okay. So is there any other motions that need to be had, or we can just go ahead and vote? Mr. Marshall?
You may
Just go
call
ahead.
for an additional vote, Madam Mayor. It is your prerogative.
Okay. Well, since we wouldn't have a vice president unless we voted again, no, Preston is out. I would go ahead and call that we vote again, and,
Madam Mayor,
yes,
I'll just remove my name. Am I able to do that?
I believe you may, Counselor Forrester.
You may not, because I was going to remove mine. No, I'm kidding. You're good. You just beat me to it.
Counselor Forrester, so
Yes.
you wanted to remove your name, okay. With Counselor Forrester no longer being in the running, I would just ask for a motion on approving Counselor Sigmund.
I'd make a
For the-
motion to approve Counselor Sigmund being the vice president.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
First by Aaron, second by Tony. All those in favor of Counselor Sigmund being the new vice president indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed with a no? Okay. Counselor Sigmund is the new council vice president. All right. And I guess moving on to our next item is the city manager's report by the transition team. And Deb is coming up with our first item, 7.1. That would be a follow-up on some questions that were asked at the last meeting regarding the non-agenda matters.
So we put together a report which I thought answered Aaron's question, but I realized did not answer one of the pertinent points to his question. He wanted to know why it got changed from other matters to non-agenda matters before the board. And so I called the former mayor to get it right from him, and that was his suggestion. If any of you have read the report, it talks about when we initially moved the item, other matters or non-agenda item matters up in the meeting, was at that November 20th meeting when we were talking about the race. And we didn't want to have that clear at the end of the agenda because people couldn't really comment during the work session. So we wanted them to be able to comment right after the work session. But the mayor's explanation was that just what Bernie had talked about last month, she wanted to make sure that on each agenda item there was, is there any other comments either from the board or the people in the audience? She wanted to make sure that continued. And the mayor said he thought that that sufficed for agenda items. And so he wanted us to change it to non-agenda items because they had been given the chance to speak about agenda items throughout the meeting. So you know, I kind of went off on a tangent too on other items, but we did talk about how other communities do this and where they put their public comment section on their agendas. They also limit, many of them limit them to 3 minutes. I think Brookings was 10 minutes, so they were pretty liberal with their with their discussion. But and then Aaron also asked about the state law, so that's at the end. And Becca had read that last week too. So let me get back to the top here. The public body shall reserve at every official meeting a period for public comment, limited at the public body's discretion as to the time allowed for each topic and total time allowed for public comment, but not so limited as to provide for no public comment. And Aaron's point being, he believed that it should be something that's decided on by the entire body, as this talks about in state law, instead of just one individual. But, you know, Robert's rules also, is that right, Mark, allow for the mayor to, or whoever's in charge, to run as they see fit?
Mr. Marshall, yes, please.
I think Robert's rules initially states that the mayor may set the agenda. The agenda may be adopted by, or is adopted by council, and council may revise that as council sees fit. So, if council wants to move that to a different spot, council may do that. If council wants to call it non-agenda items, council may do that. If council wants to call it other items, council may do that.
So I hope that clarifies. Any other questions, Aaron, or?
No,
you.
I appreciate that, Deb. Madam President, may I?
Yes, go ahead. please.
You know, looking at the state law, and Becca articulated that last meeting, it's the body's decision on that portion of the agenda. So no questions on the mayor setting the agenda. It's just that in that component piece of it, I do believe that's something that we as a body need to find some consensus on what that looks like. Do we need to do that tonight? No. I think we have a new council coming on here in May. And my recommendation then at that point is to really kind of look at this and kind of determine what fits Sturgis. You know, one recommendation, you know, some communities do it up front, some do it in the back. You know, I can't see a reason why you wouldn't do it both in some sense. One reason I like it being not tied to non-agenda matters, you know, if you've been in these meetings historically, sometimes we can be here for 3 or 4 hours. And I think it's still important if there's something on the agenda that's towards the end, that a person who may not necessarily have the time to be there until that agenda item's talking about, just to make a comment on it. It's appropriate that we would limit that time, whatever that time would be, but that's my take on it. And again, but I don't think we need to do that tonight. It's not on the agenda anyway, but I do think with the new council coming on, we're gonna have at least 4 new members. This is an opportunity for that new council to find some consensus on what works best based on what they think works best for Sturgis. So, but again, Deb, thanks for getting all that information and then responding, you know, to that fine-tuned piece of it. And thanks again, Mark.
Thank you. Is there any more discussion?
Yeah, Mayor.
Go ahead, please.
Just a quick, maybe question. I mean, obviously, I don't think as a body we did not make that decision, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. We've had reference to Robert's rules. Have we, as a council, adopted Robert's rules
Yes, you have by ordinance.
through Title VII?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other comments or discussion on 7.1? Any comments from the public? Okay.
May I go back on that? I cannot recall if it's by ordinance or if it's by policy, but in one or the other, Robert's rules have been adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall. Okay, if there's no further discussion on 7.1, we will move on. That one did not require any action. So we will move on to 7.2, and that will be Lisa coming up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, just for notation in the minutes, I do have the Raleigh Civilian Security wages. That is for the non-law enforcement positions that the city does hire to provide security services. And then a payroll change for an EMT that was our community health worker. There was an incorrect wage noted about a month ago, so this is just a correction on that. Rachel Banks is returning as a front desk attendant at the community center, and then we have a couple new volunteers in our Sturgis Volunteer Fire Department that we need to list for liability and work comp coverages.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. All right, next up would be the consent agenda. Looks like we only have 3 items on there, one of them being minutes, the other 2 setting a couple public hearings. Is there anyone from council that would like to remove anything on the consent agenda? Anyone from the public? Would you like to see anything removed from the consent agenda? Okay, with nothing being removed, would there be a motion on approving the consent agenda?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I would
Dean.
move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a first by Dean,
Second?
second by Aaron to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Anything from the public? Okay, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed with a no? Okay, the consent agenda is approved. Item 9.1, are the claims and approval of the claims. Does anyone from council have any questions on the claims? Any discussion on the claims?
Mayor, I have a couple of questions, maybe just more clarification. So we load the money into our own ATMs. I see there's 2 claims for the liquor store and for the community center.
Yes, we, another company owns the ATMs. We put the money in and then we get a percentage off of it. And so that money just kind of goes back into the account and we just keep filling it with it.
So that's one of our means of finance categories.
Very minimal. It's more, I think, for the citizens, when they use the center. And
Convenience,
yes,
but we're taking the money out of the, out of as liabilities, so we have to make sure that we're crediting properly.
yes.
Okay, and so which revenue account would that be?
I would have to look.
Okay, we can get back to that. There's a whole bunch of credits, almost every department, for $122 generally for print market. What,
Those were misdone originally on when they were put in, and so Joe credited them back and then put them all under the one department. So you'd see it in the mayor and council, I believe. It's that 2,441.
mm-hmm.
So
I can speak to that too. For this year's budget, we had talked about putting the SIP in just the mayor and council, the Sturgis Information Publication. And when we started the year, they started to divvy it out amongst each department, and then they realized that, nope, we were going to leave it just in mayor and council. So,
Thank you, Deb.
yep.
All right, only a couple more.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Under police, we're paying Meade County 2 times, and the invoice date, one of them is in January. Second one is in February. We're in April now. Is it, I know the county's had some staffing issues. I mean, is this a invoice that came to us late, or have we been late in paying?
It's just a late invoice to us.
Okay, good. That's page 8. And my final question has to do with the last page under Love Communications. And I think that actually appears another spot. Can we define what Department of Tourism leisure campaign that we're participating in there?
That would be Tammy.
That is the co-op that we do with the state that I've addressed several times before. That is just a monthly bill that we get from them for different things that they do. Leisure comes from the Raleigh department that we have a co-op with, and the other one will come from the hotel bid.
Okay, so the leisure is the Raleigh department.
Correct. That's for all of our other shoulder events that are non-Raleigh.
Maybe it's just a coding deal. It says Department of Tourism leisure campaign under the bid.
That is true. That is Raleigh, the Raleigh portion of it. The
Okay.
hotel bid does the Raleigh portion of it. My department does the events, the shoulder events, or the leisure part of it.
Well, that's what I guess what I'm asking is it does say leisure under the bid.
Oh, that must have been just typed in incorrectly. And I
Yes,
didn't
so
catch
the
it. I apologize for that.
Coding piece. All right, thank you.
Yep. Sorry about that.
Any other questions on the claims from council? Any questions on the claims from the public?
Thank you, Kevin, for saving me the trouble, because Kevin just hit several of the questions I was going to raise. I did go over several of these with Adam today, the ATM being one of them, and I just want to say that I was not aware of the ATMs, but I think that is a nice thing that we as a city do for our citizens, our patrons who use the liquor store and the rec center. I wasn't aware of it, but thank you for the understanding of how that works, because the claim side where the money's going out and we don't see where it's coming back in. So that was helpful. There's on page 3, there's an expenditure to Evergreen Media, and I couldn't figure out what that was either, but Adam explained to me. And I'm saying these things because people wonder. He explained to me that it was the advertising that we have in the 57785 magazine. And I, as I've worked my way through this was really nicely done. I guess we have another one coming out in a couple of months, but they really did a nice job of this last year. So I expect that the next one, so I'm presuming that it's the advertising in the new one that's coming out. There were 2, I look at things that are hard to figure out what they are when you look at the claims, and there were 2 under attorney that were the PAD account, and one was for Thomson Reuters, and Adam explained to me that those are online legal research accesses that we pay once a year, so it's helpful to know that. And I think those are the only ones that I had in addition to what Kevin had brought up, so thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. Glad Adam could answer some of your questions too.
Madam Mayor, if I may,
Yes, please.
I believe the Thomson Reuters charge is a month. That is a monthly access fee that allows us to access a limited variety of legal research materials confined quite narrowly to meet what Eric and I believe are our needs as city attorneys.
We appreciate that. So that's monthly, you're saying, and not yearly?
I believe so, yes.
Mark, do we pay that every month or only if you use it that month?
We have a contract where we have a monthly access fee. And if I might digress for just a moment, the cost of having paper books and updating them is huge. This service allows us to access area-based materials and periodicals that are helpful in doing our work as well.
Great. Well, thank you, Mr. Marshall, for explaining that. Okay. With no other questions on the claims, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
First by Tony,
Second.
second by Kevin. Any further discussion from the public? Okay, all those in favor of approving the claims, please indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Yes. Those opposed with a no? Okay, claims are paid. Next item will be public hearings. Looks like 10.1, just have one this evening, and that is an SEL for the Loud American for their Lincoln Day dinner. And Adam, do you have any special information on that?
You know, it happens
Okay.
every year. It's pretty regular
Pretty
thing.
standard. Okay. Any questions, discussion on that? Is there a motion?
Would move to approve.
First by Dean,
Second?
second by Aaron. And any further discussion? Any questions, comments from the public? Okay, all those in favor of approving 10.1, that SEL for the Loud American, please indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Yes. Those opposed with a no. Okay, that is approved. Next up, 11.1 under reports. And this one would be Tammy coming up. This is consideration to approve a contract for catering with Lori Jeffrey Kirk.
Yes, we do hire a caterer every year for many, many years, so that we can feed the employees, so that they have meals ready for them for breakfast and for lunch. I sent out an RFP, request for proposals, to 3 different caterers. Lori is the only one that answered the one for this one for the employees, and I respectfully ask that we approve her catering contract.
Okay, thank you, Tammy. Any questions for Tammy? Comments? Questions or comments from the public? Okay. I guess I do just have a question, Tammy. I know it was brought up in committee. Maybe it'll go with 11.1 and 11.2. Could you just explain that bid then process, how you picked the caterers that you
Local,
picked?
within the city limits, catering is what I went through first. That's what my predecessor did before. And then if we can't get any from local businesses, then we expand out, going further and further out until I get a caterer.
Okay. So you do just look for those in Sturgis and accept whichever
I
ones?
started, yes.
Okay. Oh, no further discussion. Is there a motion on 11.1 on that catering contract?
Mayor, I would move to approve 11.1.
Okay, that is a first by Dean. Second by Becca. Any more discussion? Questions, comments? Anything from the public? Okay, not hearing any. All those in favor of approving that contract for catering with Lori Jeffrey Kirk, please indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Yes. Those opposed with a no?
Abstain.
Okay, so that was 7 yeses and 1 abstention.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
Madam
I'm
Mayor,
sorry.
that would be
6 yeses and 1
Yes.
abstention, because Preston's not here. Thank you. And, all right. So moving on, Tammy, to 11.2, that would also be you, and that's another catering contract. And that one is with Two Wheels Catering.
Yes. It's the same caterer that we have used the last couple years. That's now an LLC. Same thing. I set out a RFP to the 3 different businesses within the city, and it's the only one that got returned. She does the VIP Village as well as the Mayor's Ride, the 5K, all the special events that we host during the event.
Okay.
So-
Any questions or comments on that catering contract? Any questions or comments from the public? All right, is there a motion? Oh, I'm sorry. Come on up, Bonnie.
Not wanting to muddy the water, but the thing that I noticed in that is that Two Wheel is Jamie.
Yes, Jamie Helms is
Okay,
the
does
proprietor.
that give us any complications? Are there any, I don't know what there might be underneath that about if she should become a council member and she has a contract with us, is there anything that complicates
Conflict of
that?
interest.
May I address this, or Mark?
You may, as
Okay.
far as I'm concerned, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
Before Jamie Helms, who is up for council, even put in a petition, she checked with the city attorneys. And as long as she abstains, just like Tony did, on any vote with the catering, there is no conflict of interest for them.
Good,
Yep,
because it's a good choice.
right.
I just
And-
wanted to be sure we didn't get tangled up.
Yep, exactly. And tried to check into that before we even started this process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more? Or, whoops, that was you.
Just wonder, just to kind of add on to what you were saying, Tammy, is that I also, looking at the policy, our internal policy, is that when we put the RFPs out, I think if it's somebody's an elected official, now granted, Jamie's not an elected official right now,
Right.
but if it was an elected official, I think they have to have 2 bids on top of, before that third one could be considered by that elected. But it sounds like from what you said, the RFP did go out.
Right,
Did we
Like
end up
in
having,
January or something
having
like
3
that.
bids that came in, or?
no, she was
Just
the
the
only
one?
one. And this is the same thing that's been happening to me since I took over. We couldn't, 2 years ago when I took over, we couldn't even get bids. I mean, it was begging the people to come work. And now at least I've got a couple.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the public on that one? Okay. Is there a motion on 11.2?
I make a motion to accept?
That's a first by Aaron to approve the contract for catering with Two Wheels Catering.
Second?
And a second by Dean. Any further discussion? Come on up, Bonnie.
Can I just get you in here? I noticed between the 2 contracts, one says August 12th is the completion date, and one says August 11th is the completion date.
Jamie has to clean up and everything on the 12th, so that it just need to make sure that she comes through. I think that's the one.
Would she be feeding?
Oh, I'm sorry,
anyone?
Lori. Lori is the
Okay.
one on Sunday because she has to clean up at the church, and the Coke doesn't come get the refrigerator, the side by side refrigerator. Is that what it's called? Until Sunday afternoon.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is that okay, Bonnie? Is that okay?
Okay. We had a first and a second on the floor to approve that catering contract with Two Wheels Catering. All those in favor of approving that, please indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed with a no. Okay, and that passes. Next item is 11.3, and this would be just a discussion, and we mentioned this at the last meeting. This will be a discussion on adopting an ordinance, on an ordinance adopting, or however, I'm wording this wrong, but so that we can fill a mayoral vacancy or a council seat vacancy, so that we have an ordinance to have a special election. And we're hoping that we can maybe get this to a first reading the next meeting based on discussions tonight. Mr. Marshall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think the report that Eric prepared addresses all of the issues very well. I would add to that report what might be unintentional choice of language, or it may be intentional, I'm not sure. But in 7.03.13a, it can be read to limit the council to only filling vacancies by special election. And state law is written in a manner that council is given the choice of filling them by special election or by the appointment process. And I think it's a matter worthy of council discussion to determine whether you want to limit yourself to the special election process, or if you can envision occasions where the best interests of the citizens would be served by using the appointment process.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, go ahead,
kind
Aaron.
of following on to what Mark said, I was looking at B, 7.03.13, where it talks, the council must set the special election date. So it says must. You know, I guess one of the unintended consequences could be is that you set that election, you have that election, and that seat was going to come open anyway a month later. So there could be some times where I think it probably would make sense that we would just follow through with an appointment based on how much time is left in that seat before that term is up. You know, so if it's within, let's say, 3 months, whatever that time frame is, then we at least could consider the appointment. That doesn't mean we couldn't go with a special election based on unique circumstances. But again, if you had a special election 70 days out, you have that special election in March, you turn around and have another election in April, probably, you know, the cost and the effort for that probably wouldn't make a lot of sense. So something to consider in terms of how much time there, so we do have a little bit of option there.
Anyone else have any observations or comments from that? No? Anyone from the public have any questions, comments about this ordinance? Come on up, Bunny.
I'm not sure if I can find it fast enough because I'm kind of blurry-eyed right now. In support of what Aaron has said, in support of what Aaron has said, I don't know if I can find it right now, but I thought I saw in here somewhere that all the dates, all the numbers and timeframes on the election, but I thought somewhere along the way it said you cannot do an election in anything less than 90 days before an annual election. So that would leave you 3 months without anything going on in the position if you don't have the option to appoint for the short-term duration. And I don't know, can anybody help me find that? Did I make it
That's
up?
that's in A.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're looking up there and I'm looking down here. Okay. I don't see that far. Anyway, so that was my concern. I raised the same question. This authority to hold an election, is it a requirement or an option? And it would seem under these circumstances that it has to be an option, needs to be an option to best serve us. Thank you for finding that, because I couldn't find it.
Thanks, Bonnie.
You know, to just continue that discussion then in terms of what that time frame would be. Again, whatever that, again, right here it says 90, nothing less than 90 days. So if it's going to be within that 90 days, then Mark, then you can't do the election.
As the proposed ordinance reads, it says you can't do the election within 90 days of a general or a special. Let me start over. Within a municipal or a general election, but you'll be left with that gap if you don't have the ability to fill the vacancy by appointment.
Sure. And that makes sense that within that 90 days, if you're within 90 days, it probably wouldn't be worth the squeeze necessarily for just 3 months. So would we want a time frame where we have some more, like, for example, 6 months? If we want to go 180 days, again, we may, if it's the mayor position, we have big things going on, maybe we want to go with a special election for the mayor. If it's the councilor position, maybe we choose just to fill that with an appointment for those 6 months. But if you put a limit there, maybe that 6 months time instead of must do it, but you know, you must do it within 6 months, but can't do it within 90 days, that at least gives us a little bit of options to be able to look at each situation and determine what's best. We could get feedback from the community when we have the discussion and kind of figure out what's the best path forward.
Yep, definitely. Okay. Any other discussion on that? It was a pretty quick discussion. I think we're all in agreement after this last go-around that this is something we should probably have on the books. So maybe with just changing a little bit of the language in here for next meeting, we can go to a first reading. Okay, so no action on that item. It was just discussion.
I have another question that would be
For Mark. Mr. Marshall, come on up.
Mark, as I was looking at this and it was talking about the point of the vacancy and that the council has 10 days to announce the vacancy, and then it gives the 60 days and the 30 days and the 70. Am I understanding correctly that, well, except for the 10 days, the 60 days and the 70, it could be, they could make the announcement and allow longer than 60 days between the announcement of the vacancy and the end of the petition being turned in, and they could make the announcement of the vacancy and allow more than 70 days before the election. Is that correct? The restriction is on the no less than?
I believe that is correct, Bonnie. I would suggest that our special election ordinance tracks state law with regard to those dates, and that the draft before you simply allow that it is at council's discretion whether to call for filling the vacancy by appointment or by election. That way you're not heading down an unfamiliar path with your time frames.
So it would seem then that if the vacancy occurs, that the council has to decide within those 10 days whether they're going to, the 10 days at which they'd have to announce the vacancy, whether they're going to pursue it as an appointment or an election, and peg their following dates off of that?
Kind of what I understood on that, Mark,
Did that make sense?
was that essentially there would be no requirement to do a special election, but it would be a choice of the council to do a special election or just to do an appointment. There's no time limit requirements. It would just be a decision point for each position that was vacated, if it felt within the timeframes, based on the constraints there, to choose to do a special election or choose to do an appointment.
But there is a requirement that the vacancy be announced within 10 days, whether it's an election or appointment.
That 10-day requirement, as I read the draft, applies in the event of the election
Okay.
and not in the event of the appointment.
So they have to make that decision whether they're going to do an election or an appointment within that 10 days so they can meet that 10-day announcement.
It is a publication requirement that the publication not be less than 10 days before the election.
So we would need to know at least that 10 days ahead of time if we are going to bring it to an election, for sure. Because it would need to be published 10 days.
10 days after the vacancy, it has to be published if it's going to be an election, so that decision has to be made within 10 days either way. The decision either way has to be made within 10 days.
I believe
don't-
the notice only applies in the event of an election.
So if
There
they
might
don't-
not, I don't, Mr. Marshall, you're saying there's not a notice requirement for an appointment.
No, the notice is based on municipal election statutes and state election statutes.
So if the publication doesn't go out in 10 days, then it has to be an appointment.
Once again, that is a publication of the election. The decision is made well before then.
Yeah, it says the publication may not be less than 10 days prior to the election. So not the decision to have an election, a special election, but the actual election itself. So I guess the real question here for us then is that, do we want to, must do a special election if it fits in this time frame? Or do we not have a time frame and it's a choice of the council to choose to either go the appointment route or the election route? I guess my thoughts is if it's far enough in advance, particularly when we're talking about the mayor position, I'm more comfortable with the must do it. Now, if it's within a short time frame, then maybe we should have a choice based on a unique situation. But, instead of just making it a decision point to either go a special election or to an actual appointment, I think kind of forcing us to go a special election I'm more comfortable with. As long as it fits within the timeframes that we establish within that ordinance.
So then what would you be thinking would be an appropriate time frame?
Well, I was thinking the 6 months.
6 months or so. Mr.
I mean,
Marshall?
for example, like this one came open, 14 months? So it would have been 70 days after that. So we probably wouldn't even have a special election until probably after this next election, potentially. Because I think based on when actually, because it starts when the notification, I think, not so much actually when the vacancy appears or something like that. But again, I would have, whatever that time limit would be, I threw out 6 months because I think at least with the mayor position, if you can have a special election and that person still has to go 6 months, 6 months is, that's quite a bit of a 3-year term. It's 1/6 of it. Now, if it's within that 3 months, I think that makes sense to me that we're within 3 months of that special election, of that position coming up for end of term, then it would make sense just go to an appointment for that less than 3 months time frame. But anything over 6 months, I think it would make sense that we would actually do a special election, particularly if we're talking about the mayor. And maybe we can delineate that too, between the mayor and a individual council position. And maybe you can still use the 6 months with the council, but it's a choice. Do you want to do a special election, or do you want to do the appointment till the end?
May,
I'm sorry. Mr. Marshall, did you have a comment based on something that Aaron was
yes,
saying?
and I think we're suffering from a lack of complete information, because my memory is that Section 9-13-14.1 provides 3 alternatives, and you unfortunately don't have that section before you, and it says your special election will be held at the next municipal election or at the next general election or at a time determined by council. So the state statute anticipates a number of those alternatives.
Well, it's probably not a bad idea to go back and look at all that stuff. And, even when we get to the final reading on this, I'd be really comfortable with the new council doing the second reading to do the weigh-in with the new groups there. So maybe coming back next meeting, starting this over again, looking at more information, maybe make some adjustments here. And then after that would be the first reading, and then sometime after the new council sits, you would have the second reading. Since we really don't have all the information, unless we can get all that stuff into it, and what comes back for our first reading next meeting, and we're all good to go with it.
So you're saying
Madam
you'd
Mayor,
yes, go ahead, Mr. Marshall.
I can provide you an updated council report that would give you the language of 9-13-14.2, so you could see how this proposed ordinance would fit in that statutory pattern. And I think that may inform your decision on how this ordinance should be written.
Okay.
If
Kevin,
that
did that?
is- If that is council's will.
Sure.
Well, I like the discussion point about, and I think it factors in pretty heavily, and might have factored in heavily on, the public perception in our last appointment, depending on how the election of employing a city manager or having a strong mayor goes. I mean, if it's 1 of 9 or 1 of 1, those are different. At least maybe I'm not seeing that clearly, but when the mayor is a councilor at large and has no difference of power, that is different than a mayor that has a different level of power and appointment. Am I articulating that clearly?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about, how much time. Again, if you have a strong mayor that's the chief executive of that community, maybe you're going to have that special election, other than maybe whatever the state law says you can't have that election. So just kind of open it up, because again, we're kind of talking like, again, the chief executive officer. If our city manager, who's currently our chief executive officer, vacancy was, we wouldn't necessarily start 3 or 4 months later to start that process. We'd probably start that process right now to fill that position, because that's our chief executive officer. Is that kind of what you're saying, Kevin?
Yes.
Okay, makes sense to me.
Mr. Marshall, in the layout of this, first reading, second reading, if we had first reading on the 15th, second reading would be on May 6th. Would that be old business or new business for that May 6th meeting?
I believe that would be old business for that May meeting.
So that prevents Councilor Jordan's
Well,
desire.
couldn't I recommend tabling it at that meeting? The second reading, just tabling it to allow the new council to weigh in on it?
If there was 5 votes, yeah, I guess that would be a, does that make it a first reading a second time?
Or, as an alternative, you could have continued discussion on the 15th, and that would allow a first reading on May 6th. This is significant, and I appreciate its significance, but at the same time, it doesn't have the press of the necessity of acting quickly, so long as it's on the agenda and gets addressed.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I would think that honestly, this question could be something that is better answered after the April 9th vote on whether or not city manager or city administrator, whatever form, the citizens are going to choose. Therefore, I think that having it under the next council's purview, in my opinion, makes a little more sense. I think it's good that, you're putting this out there right now for it to be on people's minds and they can, form their opinions. Because going back to the point that was made, are we saying that the mayor position only deserves special election, or should it be every council member? I think that you have to take that into consideration if the mayor is an elevated position or not. But I think that could be, frankly, decided by the April 9th vote.
Thank you, Becca. And I kind of agree, like you just said and Mr. Marshall said, I'm not sure that we have to rush this. If we still have questions and want to make sure that we get it right, we can certainly have more discussion and have some changes made for the next meeting and see how we like those, and then it will fall onto the next council.
Well, as
So-
Bonnie would tell us, needle the bread. So we can take time, right, Bonnie?
Need the bread.
Give it a needle.
Wow.
Okay. Well, it sounds like we're going to want to have some more discussion on this then at the next meeting. And there's no action required on this since it was just discussion. And so we will continue the discussion, I think, the next meeting. All right. So moving on then to 11.4. It is a licensing agreement with the South Dakota Department of Public Safety. We have Lance here. Thanks, Lance.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council. The city annually licenses the promotional and retail use of the official brand marks of the City of Sturgis Motorcycle Rally to include the annual event marks. Tonight, I'm asking your consideration of the proposed retail, merchandise, trademark, and content license agreement for the official 84th annual event mark of the rally. This 2024 agreement is a renewal with the South Dakota Department of Public Safety's Highway Patrol Agency, a continuation of our partnership for the third consecutive year. This license provides both entities the opportunity to market the rally as well as their respective organizations through co-branded merchandising. Staff is requesting council's approval to proceed with the signing of this one-year licensing agreement with the South Dakota Highway Patrol. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Lance. And does anyone on council have any questions for Lance? Any comments or discussions on this licensing agreement? No. Any questions or comments from the public? Okay. Is there a motion?
So moved.
First by Becca,
Second?
First by Becca, second by Dean. Any other discussion on this licensing agreement with the South Dakota Department of Public Safety? Bonnie, come on.
Can I just ask Lance from here? Lance, all three of these have, they showed up like that, like they should be a click to the agreement or something, but it doesn't go anywhere? Is there, do we usually see that agreement or not?
Bonnie, I apologize. That was a formatting error on my part that will appear on the next two as well. My apologies. No intention to link it to anything else.
And
But when on the next one, it says signing of this one-year billboard lease agreement, and that too is not connected to anything?
okay, hold on, Bonnie, let us finish this one first. We'll move on to that one in a minute. Okay, so we have a first and a second on the floor to approve the licensing agreement with the South Dakota Department of Public Safety, the Highway Patrol. All those in favor, please indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Yes. Those opposed with a no? Okay, that passed. And moving on to 11.5, this one is a billboard lease renewal with Epic Outdoor Advertising.
This next item I have for the council's consideration is an annual billboard lease to secure strategic advertising rights for sponsors of the City of Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. This proposed 2024 lease agreement, a renewal with Epic Outdoor Advertising for subsequent use by official sponsors to market their respective brands in partnerships with the rally. Staff is requesting council's approval to sign this one-year billboard lease with Epic.
Okay, thank you, Lance. Does council have any questions for Lance on that billboard lease? And again, that would just be a renewal of that one. Okay, any questions or comments from the public? Bonnie, can you come up just so everyone, because I was having a hard time understanding your questions too.
So are there monetary obligations tied to these?
Yes,
And so, like with the Highway Patrol, that's a licensing agreement. Does that cost us something?
no,
But the billboard does.
yes.
And we're not to kick flick yet. Okay, so what do the billboards cost us?
I believe that's a confidential agreement.
Oh, okay. That's good. Thank you.
Fall under contracts, Bonnie. Okay, any other questions, comments from the public? Okay, is there a motion on renewing that billboard lease? First by Becca,
Second?
second by Dean. Any other discussion? Anything from the public? All right, all those in favor of approving the billboard lease renewal, please indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed with a no?
Abstain. I don't know what the contract amount is, so.
All right, so we have 6 yeses and 1 abstention. Okay, and then moving on to item 11.6, that would be the kick flip. Go ahead, Lance.
Thank you. The final item I bring before the council tonight is an agreement for the creative development of the official event marks to represent, commemorate, and market anniversary years of the City of Sturgis Motorcycle Rally, providing the opportunity for both promotional and retail licensing revenue. I am asking the council's consideration of the proposed master services agreement for the professional development of Sturgis's official 85th through 89th anniversary event marks or logos by Kickflips LLC to represent the 2025 through 2029 rallies. Staff is requesting council's approval to proceed with the signing of this agreement.
Okay, thank you, Lance. Does anyone on council have any questions for Lance? Comments? And Lance, have we used Kickflip before?
Not
we done-
specifically for brand mark development, no. But we have had partnerships with Kickflips for other creative requirements.
Okay, thank you. And not hearing any questions or comments from council on this. This would be for them developing that new event mark. Any questions or comments from the public? That, Lance, do you want to go ahead and answer
Sure.
that?
Is that Bernie? Yes. Bernie, that's the annual logo for the rally.
When you see the year, like, so if you look at this past, for this rally coming up for the 84th, we had done the public, had the chance to submit something for the event mark, and so that woman from North Dakota did win that one. But in years before then, we had used companies to develop the marks. So we'd be going back to using a company to develop that mark. You're welcome. Okay.
Bernie, this is an annual event mark for 2024.
Thank you, Deb.
Sorry, I'm just looking through some documents for Councilor Forrester. Was there a motion on that? On approving the use of kickflips?
Is there a impending timeline on this? I guess I assume that there is some payments that will have to come out of this, and I mean, until we get into May, personally, I'd like to see us not pay anything that we don't have to, because I think, Adam, you can concur from the discussion we had today that the month of April is going to be tight cash-wise.
The first payment of this agreement will be in May, yes.
Is this, since this is a contract, we normally wouldn't discuss any details of a contract in open session. If there's a motion to maybe move this into executive session to discuss it and take action after exec, I would entertain that.
Quick question for anybody that is involved in the rally events. Has this been discussed in the rally events meetings that have happened recently?
It was brought up in rally and events, yes, not discussed in detail, but
Okay.
no.
I would motion to move this to exec and then reopen it afterwards.
I'd second that.
Okay, first by Dean and a second by Tony to discuss this in executive session to take action later. All those in favor of that motion, please indicate by stating yes.
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 Those opposed with a no? Okay, we will move this item 11.6 to executive session this evening.
Thank you, Council.
Okay, thank you, Lance. All right, and then the next items were also moved to after executive session. So that looks like we are at item 12, which is executive session. Is there a motion to move into exec?
So moved.
First by Dean.
Could you amend your agenda
Oh,
just to note
I'm
that there are
sorry.
4 contractual matters now?
Okay. Okay, perfect. We will notate that on the agenda. There are now 4 contractual matters. And I'm sorry, there was a first by Dean to move into executive session. Do I have a second? Second by Tony. And all those in favor of moving into exec, please indicate by stating yes.
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 Yes. Those opposed with a no. Okay, we will go into exec at Is 10:14 p.m. We are back in regular session, and we have a couple items left to take action on. And let me see, the first, I'm not sure what order. Hold on. Where should I start with? The ones that were already here. You know what? I'm going to start with the ones that were already on here, though. The 13.2, and then we'll move on to the ones that were moved into exec after. So 13.2 was consideration to approve a licensing agreement with Tom's Teas LLC. And there any discussion, questions, any?
I was going to make a motion to accept that contract with the amendments that we talked about.
Okay,
Or
first
the amendment, yeah.
First by Aaron to accept the contract with amendments. Is there a second? Second by Dean. Third by Tony. All right. All those in favor of, I'm sorry, is there any other discussion, questions, comments from the public? Okay. Well, it's a contract, so we can't just. All right, all those in favor of approving that contract with the amendments, please indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Yes. Those opposed with a no. Okay, that passes. And then moving on to the items that were first moved to exec. We have item 11.7, which was consideration to approve resolution 2024-31 reaffirming city contracts. Is there a motion on, oh, I'm sorry, that one we're actually taking no action on this evening. So that one's going to be a no action. And 11.8, consideration to approve resolution 2024-32 temporarily revising city ordinance and policy. Is there a motion on that one?
Well, I'd like to make a motion to table that and have a special meeting on the 8th of April to discuss and vote on to approve or not to approve.
Okay, so a first by Aaron to table that with a special meeting April 8th.
Yes.
Sorry, and that's next Monday then.
Second.
Okay. Special meeting April 8th. And first by Aaron, second by Mike. Any further discussion, comments, questions, comments from the public? Oh, whoops. Right now, that would be the only action item.
Other
Unless
than-
something comes up, since a meeting will be scheduled, something could come up before that agenda goes out, and it will be on the agenda. Okay. And I'm sorry, since that was tabled, there will be no discussion on it. Okay. And then the last item that was added. I'm sorry? Oh, it's late. Okay. There was a first and a second to table that. First by Aaron, second by Mike, to table that until the 8th for a special meeting. All those in favor of tabling that, please indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Yes. Those opposed with a no. Okay. And the last item that was moved is 11.6, and that was the contract with Kickflip. Is there a motion on that?
I would move to approve that contract with them on the understanding that that is for designs for, it is this contract for multiple designs.
Okay. So that was a first by Dean. Was there any changes that needed to be made on that one?
was under understanding that on that particular one, we did make some changes that needs to go back to the vendor there. So that would have to, we'd have to look at that one, you know, at another time, as I understood.
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
I'll retract
Do you
my
wanna-
motion.
Okay. And as far as, he can just retract his motion? Okay, thank you. All right. Thanks, Dean.
You know, just a quick
Is
discussion.
Aaron, then, was yours a motion?
Well, just a quick discussion. I should have the motion first, but if we end up tabling, I won't have a discussion. But just a quick, you know, this, I think, is in the past, we've done these by each year, and it costs a certain amount. This one is doing it once for 5 years, and we're saving, there's a significant savings here over 5 years. So kudos to the sponsorship department for, you know, for working that. We just got to, you know, find being a lot more efficient with the dollars that we have.
So, thanks, Aaron. Okay, so then, was that a motion, Aaron?
That's a motion to table.
Okay. Motion from Aaron to table that with any specific date, or,
What would-
I think it would just pop up at the next meeting if you don't give a date anyways.
I think it was the next meeting we thought we would.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
15th? Or
Next meeting, yeah.
is 8th?
I believe it would be the next regularly
Okay. The
scheduled.
next regular.
meeting.
Then
Okay.
table it to the 15th of April.
Okay.
I'd second that.
All right, first by Aaron, second by Kevin to table 11.6 until April 15th's regular meeting. And all those in favor of tabling that, please indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Yes. Those opposed with a no? Okay, that is also tabled until the 15th. And I believe that is the end of the agenda. And so all we would have left is to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn? First
Second.
by Becca, second by Aaron. All those in favor of adjourning, please indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, 10:22.